Transurfing by Vadim Zeland. Today we are with one of my best friends and my roommate, Sean Mikalev from Malta, and he will talk to us a little bit about Transurfing. Apparently a great book, no?
Very, very great book.
Okay. Do you have anything in particular to say about
Yes.
the author?
So I'd like to say that this book, Transurfing Reality in 78 Days, is not the original Transurfing Reality.
Okay.
It's an extraction of Vadim Zeland's.
A distilled version, right?
It's the principles extracted. So the original book is just a story, and it's left to your interpretation. And this book is more about the principles in that story. So it makes it easy for the reader to understand the intention behind the author's book, which is basically how to create a practical course in creating your own reality. And for me, this book has taught me nothing new, because it's weird. It feels like everything I knew was forgotten, and then I remembered it after I read this book. And obviously, you're gonna forget again. That's why this book is so important. For example, I can open this book on any random page and just pick out a principle, and it will apply to me in some way. I'm not gonna do that because it's gonna take time, but principle 3 is child of God. There's a small particle of God in every one of us, and you are a child of God, and your life is God's dream. Imagine that. Imagine thinking with a framework that your life is God's dream, and whatever dream that God gave you is your life, and how you choose to live that is God's gift to you, and your gift to God is to live your life in the way you want to. And that's what this book is all about. It's all about living your life how you want to. Of course, you can't do everything that you want to do, but
But it's not all God related, or it's
not at all.
not at all, right?
Not at all.
This is just a
Not at
small.
Not at all. God is not mentioned. God can be, God can be your emotions. God can be Jesus. God can be Muhammad. God can be whatever you choose to believe is a higher power and source of inspiration and guidance to you. The point is that let's not get caught up onto that. We can just pick
Yeah.
another one, like the pendulum rule. So this book is a lot about the mirror, and it talks about reality in relation to the mirror. And the mirror and reality are two separate things. You have your life and you have your thoughts. And your thoughts are going to create your reality. And everything you do is a mirror reflection of those thoughts or of that reality. There's a lot of things which are inverted and up to perspective. But when you realize that your life is a reflection of your thoughts and your actions, it changes the way you see things, because you know that what you see changes based on what you think and do. And thinking from that lens does open new perspectives. And it's not also about opening new perspectives, but sometimes getting closure, Sometimes all you need is closure that what you're doing is working. And the principles are extremely important, but not necessarily, you don't need to read the book through and through. You can open the book, as I said, on a random page, confidence, and just read about that. Balance, and read about that. This book is truly, for me, one of the most important pages or principles is 23, resolve to act.
Yeah, that's the one I read the other
And
day.
if there's something you need or want, don't waste energy procrastinating over it. Just take it. And it's not that sentence, but it's the way he explains that sentence. Just take what is yours, as if you received a card from the post, asking you to collect your parcel. There's this graciousness that he talks with, these analogies that are so simple, but the most simple things are the most profound. And that's why I like this book so much. One of the reasons, He tells you that there is possibility of failure. However, your chances of success are greatly increased if you aren't wavering. Shit like this that sometimes you just need to hear. And it goes much deeper, like the pink twins, which we won't get into too much, but become the objective observer. This is something he talks about repeatedly. Letting go on things and simply being yourself. When you want something, don't be so quick to refuse. The whole book is profound. Like, the most important thing, and why I tell people to read this book, is because it's simple. Principle, interpretation. Principle, interpretation. You understand what he's saying, he explains what he's saying. And that's valuable, because most books don't flow like that. And books that flow like that are to be read and reread and reread.
100%.
I've reread this book and listened to the audiobook. I don't even know I don't remember exactly which principle, but all the principles are in my ecosystem of thought.
100%.
And it's like against the flow.
Do you say...
This is super important. Coordinating intention. This book talks heavily about intention, and I believe heavily in intention. I believe that intention alone is not enough, but intention is more important than the result. Your intention for why you do something says a lot about your thought process and your actions which follow it. So if you're aware of your intention, then you're going to be guided onto making the right decisions. Intention is a prerequisite to results. If you're not even aware of your intention, how can you be aware of your results? Or how can you question your results? You don't understand where they're coming from. And these are the kinds of things which get lost in the day-to-day life, in the mundane reality that we live in, you know? Like when you get caught up on your phone and you get caught up in interactions with friends, or you have a bit of a fight during the day, you forget about these little nuggets. Over a long time period, you forget totally about the whole ecosystem of thought, that you can create your own reality, and you get caught up into that spiral, into that like repeated rabbit hole that keeps going down and down and down, and then eventually you come back up, but you go back down and down because you don't understand how to control the flow. There is no flow. You're not living, you know what I mean? And for me, if you want to, there are two types of people. As I say, there's a slave and a master. And talking from Nietzsche now, there's a slave and a master. For me, regardless of if you're a slave and a master, you should at least understand your nature. And this book really understands the truest human nature at the chorus level. Whenever I read a page of that book, I get a breath of fresh air, you know what I mean? I have a star here. The sigh of relief. I get a sigh of relief. This is universe talking, not try.
100%. What I like the most about this book is the fact what you said, that is written in terms like principle and interpretation directly. So it's easy to read. It's like a guide to have always by your side, right? And whenever you feel like, or you need some inspiration, you feel stuck, whatever, you can open any random page, and it will give you like an order, right? Would this be considered framework thinking?
It's a very open framework, because the framework is that you choose your reality and you can create a practical course for it. So it's the most open framework you can think of.
Yes, but it's like a kind of like framework, no?
It is a framework of thinking, because you have to think about intention.
Exactly.
And you have to abide by those laws, that if you want to implement the book in your life, you have to understand that intention is important. The world is a mirror, and there are two realities. Actually, there's two realities per person. So that means there are many more realities. The boomerang is also important. You know, things always come back.
Yes. And that's actually crazy, the boomerang effect.
And there are all these golden nuggets that you never know where the person's at, who's at, but something in that book is going to help you out. And even if you don't need help, it's going to push you forward. And if you don't want to be pushed forward, then you need to understand why. So you should read this book. And so it's for me, this is kind of the premise.
Would you recommend this book to everyone?
I would say at least, who am I to judge age? I would say don't read it if you're like a child. But some children grow up faster. So if you're watching this video and you're thinking about reading it, you should read it. But for the most part, if you're like 16 plus and you're interested in taking control of your life, or you've had something that you don't understand happen to you and you don't feel it's just, or you want something which you don't know how to get, or you're having relation problems at home and you feel like you can't really be yourself, these are going to give you clues into things you can find inside yourself to do what you want to do. The book isn't going to solve anything for you, but it's going to tell you where to look to find it. And it's going to help you identify what you need to find.
Which is better than giving you the solution.
Yeah, because 100%. For sure, in today's day, there's solutions for everything, and that adds to the problem. You know what I mean? It's like, if you can create a picture of whatever you want in your head, you're gonna create that picture. But reality doesn't always give you all the images you want in your head. And sometimes you need to understand why. And that goes back to Transurfing reality for me.
Yeah, 100%. I'm looking at the principles, at the Transurfing principles, and they all look super interesting.
Yeah.
To be honest.
It's a crazy book. Like,
Does it follow a pattern? Like,
no.
no?
The introduction is the first like 20 pages, and that gets into the author's framework more than the principles do, and like preliminary beliefs. But the rest of the book is just principle, interpretation, principle, interpretation. There's no more touch of the author. If you want to read the author's touch, read the original Transurfing Reality. And it's steps 1 through 4, so it is a bit guided, but it's very abstract.
You've read it?
I started reading it, I think, like almost 2 years ago. I got halfway and dropped it. I should pick it back up.
Okay.
But right now I'm in a bit of my own.
Well, a small brief
Intro to the book.
Intro to the book.
We'll talk multiple times about this book.
For sure. I'm gonna read it. I'm currently reading 2 other books, but I have this one on my list. Probably when I finish these 2 books, I'm getting into this one.
Season 2, Season 3.
Yeah, 100%, because it seems crazy, guys. I'll leave you some images of some of the Transurfing principles on the main pages, the initial pages, and great book, honestly. Sean always with crazy, great books, you know.
I love my books.
Thank you very much.
Cosmology.